Okay, you freaks, we're back. We're going to do a podcast today on the carbon cycle, and what basically we have to learn is how to trace the movement of an element or an atom through a cycle. So we're going to use the carbon cycle as an example. Now, right here I have drawn a picture of a carbon cycle, basically. It's going to have different dynamics, okay, and this is going to trace a carbon atom through a terrestrial or a land-based cycle, and it's also going to trace an atom through an aquatic or a water or ocean-based life cycle or matter cycle. Okay. Now, CO2 is basically a carbon atom bonded to two oxygen atoms, and it floats around in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is only 0.04% carbon dioxide, but that is enough to keep plants with the necessary amount of carbon dioxide that they need, and that keeps the horse happy because it has enough plant to eat, keeps the decomposer happy because it has enough dead leaves and dead plant material to eat. It also has enough CO2 in the atmosphere to keep the plankton happy. Okay, switch over here. The plankton happy, right? And the fish happy that eats the plankton. And also the decomposers in the ocean that eat the dead plankton. Okay, so there's a lot of carbon in the cycle. So even though there's a little bit, only a small percentage of our atmosphere is CO2, there's enough to go around. Okay, so let's get there. Carbon dioxide, okay, carbon bonded to two oxygens again. Like I said, many ways that carbon dioxide gets to the atmosphere. Okay, carbon dioxide, my arrow coming down to the tree, alright, carbon dioxide can be used by this tree in a process called photosynthesis. Alright, what that means is the leaves use the energy from, my marker doesn't work, from the sun. Okay, so the energy from the sun comes down and energizes this process. And so what it does is it can strip the carbon away from those oxygens. Alright, it can also link it up to other carbons and hydrogens and oxygens, so other atoms, and make sugar. Okay, well that sugar from photosynthesis that is stored, made and stored in this plant can then be used by the plant. So carbon now went from one form to another. Okay, so sugar, the glucose, actually has 6 carbons and 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. So we went from a molecule that had 1 carbon to a molecule now that had 6 carbons. Okay, so carbon went from one part of the cycle to another and it changed forms. Okay, so matter it's not lost here, it's just changed. Now, the horse can come along and eat the leaves that contain the sugar that was made by the carbon dioxide. Okay, now once this horse, as ugly as it is, eats that sugar, it can use the sugar for energy in a process called respiration. Alright, so this kind of shows us how photosynthesis and respiration are linked. Okay, when the horse uses the sugar for respiration, it gets energy to move and to work and to live its life. Well, the horse, just like me, breathes out carbon dioxide. So it basically strips that sugar down, breaks the carbons off of that sugar again, and returns it to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. So we see a very small cycle there. It went from carbon dioxide to a sugar inside of a plant via photosynthesis, powered by the sun, and then it left. It was used as energy in the horse and then exited the horse's body as a waste product of respiration and became carbon dioxide again. Okay? Now, there's another dynamic to this terrestrial food chain. Alright? And that is that the carbon dioxide can come down and be eaten by, can be used by the plant, again in photosynthesis. But do all of the leaves have to get eaten? No. So in the fall or in the summer, whenever, if one of those leaves dies and it falls to the ground here, okay, those sugars, those nutrients in that leaf can be used by a decomposer, like the mushroom here. Okay, so the mushroom breaks down that sugar and those carbons and it releases the CO2, the carbon dioxide again, into the soil usually, and then up into the atmosphere again. So we see the linkage here from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to the photosynthesis in the tree, to the horse, and to the mushroom. It's all linked. In retrospect, the horse could also die, and it could be decomposed by the mushroom, okay? And so, if that happened, the mushroom would once again return the carbon from the horse back to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. All right? So that is a terrestrial food chain, also a terrestrial matter cycle. We can see how those two are linked. This is basically one dynamic of the carbon cycle. Now, it's very simple, but that shows how we can cycle carbon from one form to another form, to another form, okay, and back to the same form. All right? So next time we will do the aquatic carbon cycle.